Hello there, I'm Jimmy Vegas and this is how to make a Grand Theft Auto game in Unity, and welcome to episode 22. In this tutorial we are going to focus on getting our NPC to actually walk around the block endlessly, as you would expect an NPC to kind of walk around. I will also deal a little bit with some NPC interaction, i.e. when we get a bit close to him, he moans at us or something. And don't forget, click the subscribe button, click the bell icon as well to stay up to date with every tutorial still to come in this series and everything about game development on my channel. With that in mind, let's get to work. So, up until this point, our NPC will walk towards the destination. And currently, the destination itself actually changes to over here when he reaches it. So we're going to modify this now to make him walk around this block endlessly. So, let's go to our script. If we click on the NPC destination, it's over here. Double click, open up in Visual Studio. Now, to get this working as intended, we need to kind of build the script and then reverse engineer it just a little bit. But we also need another variable to determine what location the destination is currently at. So, public int, and we'll have trig num, semicolon. So, based on that, what we have to say is inside this statement that says other.tag equals NPC, we need another if statement to say if, and in brackets, we're going to say trig num equals 0, open curly bracket. You can delete that close curly bracket and then place the close curly bracket underneath. So we are saying that if it's equal to 0, then move the position to here. Now, currently the position sets it here, but we want to move it over the other side of this block. So let's get that destination by looking at the position in the transform component. So let's move it to probably about there maybe. Does that look okay? It does. So 91, 16, 127. So 91, 16, 127. Now, what we need to do is after we've moved it, change trig num to equal 1. So it's in position 1. So we're going to have 4 positions. We'll have 0, 1, 2, 3. And we'll use number 4 as the go-between, as a link between position 3 and position 0. So for now, what we need to do is take that if statement, and rather than place it below here, like I said earlier, we need to kind of reverse engineer what we're doing here, and we need to place it above. And now we're going to say if trig num equals 1, then move the position to this side of the block. So all the way over here. So I'm going to move my mouse into position right there, and then move the destination to where I want it to be. So let's say about there maybe. So 91, 16, 205. 91, 16, 205. Same principle again. We need to say trig num equals 2 because it's now in position number 2. So copy that if statement and place it above once again, saying if trig num equals 2, then we move the object once again. And we're going to say over the other side. So round about here somewhere. Just by that manhole cover, I think. So let's move it. If I can find there we go, the axis. So let's say 150, or shall we? 150, 16, 205. So 150, 16, 205, which means trig num should now be equal to 3. And then take that if statement, place it above, and we'll say if trig num equals 3, it's in the 3rd position, which means we now need to move this to its original position. So back into Unity, I'm going to undo all of those moves, place it back to where it began, which is 150, 16, 127. So 150, 16, 127, and change trig num to 4. So that number 4 is the go-between, it is the link that links between this position and the original position. So that means we just need to say at the top now, if trig num equals 4, then trig num equals 0, semicolon, and save. So the whole idea of what's happening here is when we enter the collider, we're saying for the first time, it's going to trigger this one at the bottom, and then it's going to end because we've made it 1. So when we re-enter it again, it'll rerun the trigger enter, and it'll come to here. And it'll see, yep, 1, and then it'll run just this section. So because of the way we've ordered all of this, it won't infinitely loop. If you do it the other way around, if you have trigger num 0, if trigger num 1, if trigger num 2, it's going to infinitely loop. You need to make sure that you've reversed this. It'll make sense when we see what happens in the scene. So just make sure you do save that. And this one is the reset up here, the trigger num 4. So if we head back to Unity now, and I'm going to press play to see all this in action. I'm going to click on scene so we can actually control where we can see. So this may take just a couple of minutes because I want to see our NPC do the full loop. If I go quiet, it's basically because I have nothing to actually talk about, and you probably don't want to hear my voice ramble on and on and on. But so far, so good. He's still going. We should see any moment now that trigger change to there, and there he goes. He's walking to the next one. Now we would expect that one to work anyway because we actually made him do that and go to the position we had originally over here. So we would expect that first one to work no matter what. So now the big test is that if this position of the trigger works and he starts walking this way, and he does indeed. So I think that's pretty much going to work no matter what. So while we still wait for him to walk around, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do next. So we're going to have a little bit of NPC interaction. So if we kind of get too close to our NPC, he's going to say a couple of different things, which I've kind of pre-recorded. One is, hey, watch it. Another one is, hello. Another one is, can I help you? So we're going to have our NPC randomly say one of these phrases to us if we get a little bit too close to him. And we're going to use a random.range for that, and that's going to be kind of cool to do. It's not going to take too long, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's just make sure he walks, so starts walking this way as soon as he hits that trigger. But there we go, he's walked around our entire block now, and I'm quite happy with that. And there we go, it goes back to that position there. So he's going to happily walk around that for as long as he needs to. So now let's start dealing with NPC interaction. So going to our NPC himself, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to add an extra object to him, and that object is going to be the trigger object that allows us to basically say, yes, this is the player, talk to the player. So on NPC 001, right click, 3D object, cube. We need to expand that cube just a little bit and also tick is trigger. So scale, I'm going to have 1.5 on the X, in fact, probably a bit bigger. Let's have 2. Let's have 2, and then probably about 3 there. I'm going to turn off mesh renderer. I'm going to right click and let's rename and say interaction trigger. Excuse me. So how are we going to do this? Well, first things first, let's bring in some audio clips. So let's go into voice and let's go new folder. Let's have 02 NPC. So all NPC voices are going to be within this folder. And I'm going to bring in these 3 lines, which you can get on the website if you want to. There's nothing special about them. There's just something I've recorded in my voice and modified it a little bit so it doesn't quite sound like me. But if you want to supply your own lines to this, let me know. I'd love to have, some fan voice within this game that we're making here. So let's create that script to go on the interaction trigger. So let's go to our scripts folder, if I can find it. Open world. And in fact, no, on characters, isn't it? Because we've got our NPC there. So let's right click, create C# script, NPC 01 interact. And let's open that up in Visual Studio. So before we go any further, it's probably also worth checking that our tag is set for our player. So let's go to contract killer. Let's go to tag and let's tag him as player. because we need to make sure the only thing triggering any voice is going to be the player, because we don't want any other objects triggering that. So we're over here, he's here, and he's randomly trying to talk to us. So what we need to do is we need to basically say that our NPC, as it were, is going to say a couple of things. So let's have public audio source, and then we're going to use the square brackets. Why are we using the square brackets? Because we're creating an array. We don't want to create the same actual variable over and over. It's just a waste of time, I guess, but it's always nice to teach things like arrays. So what we're going to say here is public audio source with a square brackets, and we'll say voice line semicolon. So how are we going to do this? We've got to think about this logically now, guys. This is going to be on trigger enter function, but we have to disable the box collider for a certain period of time. And as you know, if we're dealing with time, we need to use a coroutine. So what we're going to do, I'm hoping you've got this in your head now, guys, is have a on trigger enter, which will kickstart a coroutine, which will turn off the collider. It will randomly tell us a line, and it will turn the collider back on. That's how we're going to do it. So we need to get rid of void start and void update. And we're going to say void on trigger enter. Doesn't need to be private. And we're going to say if, in brackets, other dot tag equals player, open curly bracket, and we're going to put start co routine, and in brackets we'll call this anything we want. So let's say NPC voice over, open close bracket semicolon. Now we need to create that coroutine called NPC voiceover. So enumerator NPC voiceover, open close bracket, open curly bracket. And first things first, we need to say this dot game object dot get component, and in spiky brackets box collider, open close bracket, dot enabled equals false semicolon. So now we think about it as well. How are we going to generate a random number to play a random line? Well, that's actually quite easy. Let's go to our variable declaration section and go public int, and we'll say line number semicolon. Now we've triggered this here, we've turned off the box collider, so the next thing to do would be to say line number equals random without a b random dot range, and in brackets the minimum and maximum. I can't remember if we've actually done random range in this series yet. I'll quickly cover it. 0 would be the minimum, because we have to remember that this is an array. The first one is going to be 0, the second one is going to be 1, the third one is going to be 2. Think of it like elements that we've seen in various different things in other components before. So just remember, it's an element. So 0 is the minimum, 2 is going to be the maximum because we've got 3. However, we need to put the number 3 as the maximum, because that maximum will never be generated. It's just one of those quirks of C# within Unity. It's just a quirk. Don't worry about it. Just have one more than the maximum you need. It will never ever be generated. We'll only ever generate 0, 1, or 2 at this point. Close bracket, semicolon. Now what we need to say is voice line, and in square brackets, and then we say line number dot, oops, close square bracket, dot play, open close bracket, semicolon. So what we're saying here is that within this array, we are playing the array number, the list number, whichever one we've generated, 0, 1, or 2. And that will be different, hopefully, every time we play it. Now what we need to do is yield, return, new, wait 4 seconds, and in brackets, maybe 2 seconds or so, semicolon. And after that, let's copy this line of code to turn the box collider back on and save the script. So that basically allows us to repeat this process over again. So now let's head back into Unity, and we're going to need to declare those variables in the array. But in order to do so, what we need to do is actually attach those voiceovers to our NPC. So on the interaction trigger itself, I'm going to right click, create empty. I'm going to rename that to say voice lines, and within there I'm going to create another game object and have this as line 01. Hold Control, press D, change that to line 02, and finally line 03. Now let's drag and drop NPC line onto number 1, number 2, and number 3, and let's select all 3 of those and untick play on awake, because we only want them to play on command, as we would expect. So on interaction trigger now, we need to add that script that we've just written. So let's go to our scripts, characters, and it is NPC 01 interaction. Just drag over here. And you can see here, this voice line, that is where the array is. If we click the arrow, you can see size is currently 0. Now we could set this manually, set that as 3, and then we could manually add them. Or there's a neat little trick that we can use by going to the top of our inspector panel and clicking on this little lock here. Click it into the lock position, and this will remain static. It won't change. Because remember, if we click on something else, this is going to change over here, the inspector panel. We need to keep it as this. That gives us the opportunity to select line 1, 2, and 3, and then just drag them over here and place them on voice line. And it will automatically fill that array for you. Just remember to click the lock at the top to unlock it. So now let's press play and hopefully, fingers crossed, try this out. So we're going to have to just quickly let this little thing play out here. And as soon as it has, we'll walk up to our NPC and see what line he says to us. Where's he gone? There he is. So I'm going to let him just walk towards us here. And let's see.
Can I help you?
There we go.
Can I help you? Hey, watch it.
There we go. So he's randomizing what he's saying here.
Hey, watch it.
Cool. Yes, I know the voice is awful, by the way.
Hey, watch it. Hey, watch it.
He's not very happy with us, is he?
Hey, watch it.
Are you going to say something else, NPC? Come on, Malcolm, say something else.
Hello.
So there we go. That is the start of some NPC interaction. You could hear him saying things when we were bumping into him, getting too close. Now, you could theoretically expand or reduce the size of that interaction trigger. That is what makes this whole thing work. Now, obviously, that sounds a little bit weird as well, me talking with a slightly modified voice, but you've got to remember that when you have all the sound effects of the city playing, when you have the ambience in the background, other people talking to each other, whatever, that's going to sound perfectly normal. So that's something we're going to move on to at some point anyway, the whole sound of the atmosphere. So next tutorial, what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of post-processing to this scene, because realistically I want it to look a little bit better than what it is right now. So let's start getting it looking pretty good. And I think we're going to have another independent NPC, because I do think that we need to have more than just Malcolm walking around. I want this to start having a feel of it's a city where people are walking around and living in. And we're going to try a different method with that other independent NPC as well. So until that next tutorial, guys, thank you very much for watching.